All right, week 4 video paired with week 5 power rankings. Let's get into it. I lost 106.2 to 67.4 to Pat after I talked a lot of smack. The only real points I left on the bench was Nico Collins, putting up 32.3. I still would have lost, so not feeling too butthurt about that, but it was a pretty dismal week. Let's start with the positives. Tyler Bass put up 14. He's been pretty consistent. Bijan Robinson, my guy, as Pat calls him, that Jags running back, put up 16.2 in a terrible Falcons offense. Sam Laporta, respectable 7.6. He's been great. Other than that, Ramondre has been a bad pick so far. He put up 5 points. Pollard had 7.5 in a blowout win. Amari and Olave put up 3 combined points, so that's not great. Deshaun Watson didn't play last second. I didn't know that was going to happen, so maybe I would have subbed in Nico had I known earlier. But yeah, 2.1 for Amari, 0.9 from Olave. I thought I was cute giving the Niners D the start over the Eagles D. The Eagles D were very hyped up playing Washington after Washington got rolled by Buffalo. I went with the Niners against the Cardinals. Eagles put up 3. I was feeling good about it. And then the Niners put up 1 point in a pretty easy win. They just didn't force turnovers. They had 1 sack, so kind of a fluky 1 point. But I put up 67.4. By the way, this is my first video since, take a guess, comment below the last time I made a video. I'll give you a couple seconds. It was 2021, week 2. So over 2 full seasons since my last video. But we've seen before in this league, sometimes videos propel teams to further glory. I mean, you look at Eric last year, a video man, made a run to the finals. You look at Pat, I mean, his videos have really sparked the troops. He had a great week. Picked up tiny Tony Richardson. Last second, he's kind of the one quarterback on the wire that I was thinking about adding for depth, but I have Mahomes. He put up 29.6. And I think he's legit. Just as a dual threat quarterback, the Colts, they have nothing to lose this year. He's gonna put up numbers. I like that ad. New guy, Mark Andrews. We'll get into the trades later. Andrews had 2 touchdowns. Ayuk had a big game. Amon-Ra had a touchdown. And then also, Pat benched the Seahawks D on Monday night against the Giants, who had given up the most fantasy points to defenses. And the Seahawks D put up 29. So he would have had 135 points had he not done that. And if you look at the standings, Pat has the fewest points out of anyone. So that could be big. I know we were laughing about it in the chat, but that's a pretty big decision to bench the Seahawks D in a game where they're not going to put up negative 40 points. So that could come back to bite you in the butt, Pat. 29 points is pretty shocking. We've seen a lot of defenses have crazy performances. So yeah, obviously it's been a slow start. It's been a slow start for me. And moving forward, my next 3 weeks, I have tough matchups against Nim, Curtis, and Eric. So I'm sitting at 2-2. That could easily flip to a 2-5. I'm not feeling great about my current situation, if I'm being honest. So we'll do sort of a hybrid power rankings and then looking at this week's matchups. I'm going to put myself at 8. I was thinking about putting Tree at 8, but I actually have less points on the season than Tree. I have the second fewest points, only ahead of Pat. And I also have given up the third fewest points. So I've had 2 kind of bad losses. If you look at the game, that really should have tainted Adam Schefter's career. I should be 3-1, but I'm 2-2, and I've had a cushy schedule. There's no way around that. I'm 2-2, playing Nim's Island this week, who's projected 126.5, by far the most in the league. We'll get into the trades. We know Nim got Kelsey for Mostert James Cook, and Mark Andrews. And honestly, I was mentally prepared for Nim to get Kelce for just Andrews and Mostert based on the Discord and the chat. We know Pat's easily swayed. Nim kept kind of pushing him. And then I saw the trade and I'm like, all right, he got James Cook too. It's not terrible. Because logically you're like, all right, well, Andrews is a little bit worse than Kelce. And then you're adding 2 solid running backs. But I think the more I've thought about it, Kelce is so good. And even if Andrews is the number 2 tight end, that gap in production between the two is pretty significant. Nim has running back depth. I mean, he doesn't even need Mostert. Doesn't really need Cook. He has a lot of guys. I mean, you know, you look, there's Montgomery, there's Kyren Williams, who's been one of the ads of the year, and then McCaff. I just think this league's all about having the stars. Nim now has McCaff. He has Kelce. He has Josh Allen. I think he's going to be hard to beat, and I think this trade shifted the balance of the league. I think we had teams like Curtis who were legit contenders. I know it's early, but this is a pretty big trade. I think Mostert is not going to get the usage he's got. He's 31. They have Jeff Wilson coming back. As a Bay Area guy, I mean, Pat's got to know. McDaniel likes the running back committee. I think Devin Achane is the guy to own in that backfield. So I don't think Mostert's going to be productive, and James Cook is solid, but we know Josh Allen vultures touchdowns. We know they like passing the ball. It'll be an interesting trade. Obviously, Andrews had a strong week 1 with Pat. So yeah, I'm playing Nim, Amari on bye, Lockett on bye. So kind of struggling for receiver depth this week. And I wanted to give some thoughts on the landscape of the season. I think in the past, fantasy has always had sort of storylines and trends that predict the next couple of years. We've seen it with this influx of receiving backs a couple of years ago with guys like Kamara, McCaff, Todd Gurley. We've seen an era of the mobile quarterback. Obviously, guys like Lamar, Fields, Kyler, now Tony Richardson. And now I've been trying to kind of grasp at what's going to win championships this year and next year maybe. And it's interesting. There's offenses, there's real life NFL offenses that are just so dominant. I mean, you look at the Bills, the Dolphins, the Niners, the Eagles, and there's so many offenses that are just terrible, unwatchable. Think Patriots, Saints, Giants. I mean, guys that they're just unwatchable. They don't put up points consistently. And I just keep that in mind. We're going to go through all the teams. We're going to look at what teams have the most guys on these dominant offenses and what teams have guys on just shit offenses. Because I think that's really the difference this year. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I feel like this year in particular, there's such a difference in the good teams and the bad teams. And I have, you look at a guy like Chris Olave, who's wildly talented. I don't think he's that far off from being a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but he's just not getting any real opportunity to shine. And they have Derek Carr, and he got hurt. I thought Jameis might get the start last week, but Carr came back. And Olave had 6 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you put Olave on the Chiefs or on the Niners, and he's a stud. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson has been bad. Granted, the Patriots have had sort of a tough schedule, playing teams like the Cowboys, the Eagles. So as they play better or worse defenses, he really should have better games. I mean, Bijan's a stud. The Falcons are a team that I have a lot of problems with. I mean, they have Bijan, they have Drake London, they have Pitts. I have all 3 of them for some reason. They just don't know how to pass the ball. They were feeling real cute when they were 2-0, saying, oh, we don't care about your fantasy teams. Now they're 2-2 with 2 bad losses. I think they need to get rid of Desmond Ridder. They got to get rid of Ridder. They have Heineke, who can kind of sling the ball. So I think if Heineke plays, that really boosts my team. That sounds minor, but I have Pitts on the bench. Luckily, I added Laporta, who's just the 2nd-ranked tight end. I know Kelce and Andrews both missed a game. So he's realistically a top 5 tight end probably for the rest of the year. I got lucky adding him. Mahomes hasn't looked great. I mean, the Chiefs offense, they don't have really a lot of, they don't have a lot of weapons. People kind of seem to say that every year, but this seems to be their worst year in terms of receivers. I think I went too young with my bench. Also, I mean, Drake London, Addison, Nico Collins. Nico Collins could be a savior on my team. Sorry. I know. Nico Collins is solid. I don't love my team, I'll be honest. I think there's upside, but it's been pretty disappointing. Nim has a stacked lineup this week. Josh Allen, McCaff, Kyron, CD, Garrett Wilson, Kelsey, Montgomery. So I don't feel great about my chances. At 7 in the power rankings, we'll put Tree. He's at 0-4, but yeah, he has the most points against by a lot. You look at his team, he has Hurts, who is the 5th ranked quarterback, so solid. Mixon, the Bengals have been just a mess. Pacheco actually has looked pretty good. Jamar Chase, again, Bengals have been a mess. Waller, Khalil Herbert. Hi, Cleo. Tree made quite a big bid this week he used 25 fab for Herbert after I dropped him. I kind of like the ad. The Bears looked better against the Broncos, but Keenan on bye. Tree's just kind of in that territory with me where the guys that he has, Mixon, Chase, they've been in just bad offenses so far. But I don't hate his team. He's a strong 7. Matching up against Joe this week at 6, I'm going to put Jeff. He's at 1-3. 5th most points for. And I'm just taking a look at his team. I think after the draft, I really liked Jeff's team. I liked the Gibbs pick on the Lions, but they're just not using him enough. Jonathan Taylor might be coming back this week. And you have these guys, Ridley. I mean, he was kind of a low-risk pick that he got later. He had a good week 1. He hasn't been strong. But Tyreek Hill, averaging 21.6 points per game. A.J. Brown, just a decent team. I think Saquon coming back will help. He's missed the past 2 weeks. Breece Hall, they're probably going to ramp him up, so his value will likely increase. They haven't really gotten a lot out of him yet. So I think Jeff's team has sneaky upside. You look at Barkley, Hall, Hill, A.J. Brown, Gibbs, Jonathan. There's a lot of names on this team. It's kind of scary to think if they all turn the corner and start producing. I like the Romeo Doubs ad. He's playing Monday night against the Raiders. Honestly, I was thinking about adding him. I hesitated. I didn't know really who to drop. I like that ad. Respectable move. Jeff, a solid 6. Now at 5, I know he's going to want to be higher, but I'm going to put Pat at 5. I think that's fair. He has the fewest points for, but he's on the upswing. We talked about the Kelsey trade. He also sneakily got Dameon Pierce for Najee Harris. And honestly, I like the move for Pat. Najee, I don't like the Steelers' offense at all. He's talented. He'll get touchdowns here and there, but I just don't like. I don't want to start Najee. But Dameon Pierce, the Texans have sneaky a great offense. C.J. Stroud is legit. The second time I brought up the Texans, and the cat has purred aggressively. So I think you're onto something. I like Pierce. The Texans have been missing offensive linemen. They should just get better and better. I like Pierce, but Pat's in the situation now where he has almost too many running backs. He blew his load on Algier week 1, had 50 fab on him. Also has Madison, now Pierce, Cook, Mostert, Gus Edwards randomly. you almost have too many guys. You went from having just no running back depth to like, all right, 7 guys that could start. So it's like, you probably could have kept Kelsey and used your fab better to get running backs. Like Achane, I don't know how to say his name. You look at your team, Richardson is solid at QB. Andrews, respectable at tight end, we know. Ayuk has been good. St. Brown has been good. You have a solid team. I think the upside's lessened without Kelsey. Like, who on this team is going to pop off? I don't know if there's anybody. Like, maybe Ayuk. But, yeah, I think you have a deep team. I think T. Higgins has been bad. Talking about the offenses, I mean, T. Higgins has been consistently underperforming. The Bengals have really screwed a lot of people. But yeah, I think Ayuk, you look at Ayuk and Amon-Ra, I mean, 2 powerful offenses. They're really carrying your team. But yeah, I think 5 is fair. I know you want to be higher. At 4, I'm going to put Eric. Eric at 3-1, like Nim said, with Kupp coming back, and also 3-1 now playing Pat. So dare I say, on the cusp of being 4-1. Kupp obviously has shown a lot in the past. I just don't know. I don't know what his deal is with this injury. It's like I don't think he's gonna come in and be a stud. You added Stroud at QB, which I respect. Jefferson is the number 1 ranked receiver. I mean, dominant. I mean, the difference between Jefferson and Chase this year is staggering at picks 1 and 2. So huge pick getting JJ. Achane, I drafted him. I mean, he was a popular sleeper pick in the insane fantasy community. I got him in the 16th round, dropped him, was impatient, and he's obviously good. I mean, put up 49 points, followed by 25.5 points. So, great ad. Josh Jacobs has been kind of a disappointment. You have Kittle. You look at Kamara, who I love. I mean, you remember a few years ago, I was the first guy to really have a sense of Kamara's future. He was on a lot of my teams. He had 13 catches last week for 33 yards. I mean, that's just insane. That's unheard of. The Saints are terrible. But I like Achane. I like Jefferson. They're going to put up points. The bench, you have Debo, who's just always hurt. Evans has been really good. Mike Evans with Baker Mayfield. I like Evans. You have a lot of players. You have Brian Robinson. You have a lot of depth. I think this is a playoff team. You have Pat next week. You could be 4-1. This is a real team here. And then I think the thing about your trade is you don't even need Najee. Like if he breaks out, then you have like another guy to plug in. But you don't even need him to be good. I get it. You wanted to get rid of Pierce. You're stashing a guy. A respectable move. Burrow is quietly the 31st ranked quarterback. That's insane. So yeah, I like your team, Eric. At 3, we'll give it to Joe. And he's had some adversity, to be fair. And he's also playing Tree this week. So it's a big week for Tree, because I think there's a huge difference between 0-4 and 0-5. Joe could also be 4-1. I like the Puka move. He's been a stud. Low-key, I drafted Puka in the last round of my Dynasty League just because there was some noise around him, but I didn't expect him to be this good. He's a stud. It'll be interesting to see how he does with Kupp. Swift was a great ad. I mean, he's clearly the guy right now in Philly. He's going to get touches. Waddle has been disappointing, so you're 3-1 with Waddle being bad. And then you have Derrick Henry, James Conner. Eckler has just not been playing. So I think we're considering you're 3-1 with Eckler pretty much being out every week, with Godwin kind of being disappointing. Also, Aaron Jones being out. So I think you've really navigated the wire well. And then I mean, your running backs are Derrick Henry, James Conner, Swift, Eckler, Jones. That's insane. So yeah, very strong team. I think the player to watch, I guess, is Puka, to see if he can continue to put up huge numbers. But yeah, a strong team. And you got to think Waddle is going to improve. So I like where you're headed. At 2, I'm going to put Curtis. And you have the second most points for it, but you're 2-2. And I think obviously you're hurt a little bit by the Kelce trade. A huge matchup coming up against Jeff. I mean, if Jeff could be 1-4, that's massive for league morale. Fields has been bad. We know he had a strong week last week. We don't really know what we're going to get from him. The rushing numbers have been down. He's been turning the ball over. Devonta Adams, Stephon Diggs, great 1-2 punch at receiver. My guy Kenneth Walker's been a stud. ETN, maybe a little disappointing. I think the Jags as a whole have been a little bit disappointing, so I think he'll probably start producing more. Hawkinson's the number 1 tight end. Yeah, a strong team overall. Not much to say. I mean, Akers has been, I guess, kind of irrelevant. Jerry Jeudy's been kind of irrelevant. Michael Thomas has been kind of irrelevant. Jerome Ford was a good ad. I don't know what he's going to be like the rest of the year, but you have a lot of guys to plug in. I think, yeah, maybe a little top heavy, but that's what wins in fantasy. So, yeah, big family matchup. And then at number 1, we have to put Nim. Just a stacked team right now. I guess the question is, yeah, what's going to happen at running back if Kyron stops producing the way he is? Montgomery stops producing the way he is. And I don't think that's completely out of the picture. I mean, the Lions are going to use Gibbs. It's just a matter of how much. But then you have McCaff still. You have Kelce. Garrett Wilson was my guy last year. I got kind of screwed over by Zach Wilson just being terrible. So I guess that's something to watch if Zach can he had a little bit of pep in his step against the Chiefs. So we'll see how Garrett plays. CeeDee Lamb's good. Similar to Pollard, they're just dominating games without really needing to do anything on offense. So I think CeeDee will spike in value. And then the bench is okay. I like the Tank Dell ad. I'm high on the Texans offense, Cleo. And yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, but you have the studs. I think it's wide open this year. If you look at the top 4 teams, Nim, Curtis, Joe, Eric, they all have a shot. I like what I'm seeing on paper. Me and Pat, I don't know. Jeff, I don't know. Tree, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit in scared mode, if I'm being honest. I don't love where I'm at. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching. This was a long-ass video. We have a great game tonight. Commanders, Bears. Have nothing invested in it with my fantasy team, so I'm feeling good about that. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you'd like, subscribe, like the video, comment, share to your friends, and have a great day.